Hello everyone. Today before I tell you the story, please take a moment to breathe in the silence around you. The air tonight feels thick, like a curtain between two worlds. The kind of silence that presses gently against your skin, whispering that something is listening. Before we begin, I hope you can take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell if my video brings you something truly interesting. And please comment below where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I'd like to know how far apart we all are, yet still sitting together in this darkness. And now, let's begin this journey together. You stand before an old chapel on the southern edge of London. It is long forgotten, its windows blind with soot, its door swollen by rain. The fog rolls in from the Thames, muffling everything, even your thoughts. The street lamps flicker as if uncertain they should be burning here. The sign on the rusted gate reads, St. Bridget's Chapel. Though the letters are cracked and almost erased, a crow perches on the iron fence, watching you with one eye, as if it knows you shouldn't be here, as if it knows you. You push the door open. It moans softly, like someone disturbed in sleep. Inside, the scent of damp wood and old incense fills your lungs. The air is cold, not the kind that chills your skin, but the kind that settles inside you. Each step you take echoes too long. The floorboards creak beneath your weight, answering your movement like breath. And then, silence. The kind of silence that seems to listen back. You sweep your flashlight across the pews, all lined neatly, all covered in thick layers of dust. Candles still stand in rusted holders, as if waiting for someone to light them again. There's a faint vibration underfoot. You pause. For a second, you think it's just your pulse. But know the wood trembles beneath you. Slow, steady, rhythmic, almost like breathing. You kneel down, the floor feels warm. That shouldn't be possible in a place abandoned for centuries. A whisper follows, not from behind, from below. Do you hear that you murmur softly to no one? But the whisper answers anyway, brushing the edge of your ear, as though someone lies just under the planks, murmuring prayers to themselves. You try to joke to ease the tension. If this floor starts talking, I'm charging rent. But your voice sounds too loud here, like it doesn't belong. The chapel seems to breathe with you. The air exhales when you exhale. You take a cautious step toward the altar. The candle holders there are strangely clean, as if recently touched. And on the stone surface, you see a faint outline, a rectangle of lighter color, as if something used to rest there for a very long time. You run your fingers along the cold stone. The pattern feels oddly familiar, an indentation like a plaque, or perhaps a coffin lid. Suddenly, you hear a soft knock, not from the walls, not from outside, from underneath. You freeze. The knock repeats, slow, deliberate. 3 knocks. The air in the chapel thickens. You whisper again. It's just the pipes. Except there are no pipes here. Only stone. And the trembling hush of something waiting. You kneel down again, press your ear to the floor, and you hear it breathing, not a ghostly sigh, not imagination, a human rhythm, faint and steady. Someone or something beneath the chapel, still drawing air after centuries. You jerk upright. Your flashlight flickers. And for a second, the shadows on the walls seem to stretch long arms reaching toward you, then curling back into the darkness. You laugh nervously, whispering to yourself, "All right, this is fine." just an old building. Totally normal. With someone maybe under the floor. The crow outside caws once sharp, like a warning, then flies away. You look down again. The floorboards have faint carvings, Latin, mostly illegible, but one phrase stands out beneath the dust. Sub voto taciturnitatis. You translate in your mind under the vow of silence. The whispering begins again. Only this time it's not alone. It's joined by another voice, faint, echoing as if it's repeating from far below. You take a careful step back, then another. The wood beneath your feet groans, not from pressure but from movement. Something shifts beneath the chapel floor. Slowly, patiently. You whisper, "I think it's waking up." And then, as if in response, a soft exhale of air rises through the cracks in the floorboards. Warm, moist, unmistakably human. You stumble back toward the door, heart hammering, and whisper to yourself, "If anyone's down there, Bob, you better not be charging rent either." The joke barely escapes before your voice trembles. Then the floor gives one last breath and falls silent again. But the warmth lingers beneath your feet, and as you turn to leave, you notice a faint glimmer at the base of the altar, something round, gold, half buried in the dust. You hesitate. You know you shouldn't touch it, but you always do, don't you? You reach out, brush the dust aside, and reveal the edge of a wedding ring, old, worn, yet impossibly bright. The inscription catches your light for a moment, 2 initials. You blink once. They change. You blink again. The letters shift once more. At first, they form EM, then melt into AL, as though the metal itself is alive and unsure of whom it belongs to. You hold your breath. The ring feels strangely warm against your palm, pulsing softly, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to you. You whisper, half joking, "Well, congratulations to whoever's still married down there," but your voice fades before it hits the walls. You glance around. The chapel seems smaller now, as though the shadows have thickened. The candle holders gleam faintly, their wax dried into ghostly shapes of faces that seem to watch you. The moonlight through the cracked window glints across the ring again. And for a brief moment, you see it, a faint reflection of a woman's hand resting on yours. Pale, thin, motionless. You freeze. Slowly, you lower your hand, but the reflection remains in the gold's curve. Her fingers tremble slightly, and then vanish. A sudden draft sweeps across the room, snuffing out what little light the window allowed in. You hear that breathing again, rising from beneath the floor. Heavier now, as if someone is struggling to wake. You whisper, "It's not real, it's just old air escaping," but you know it isn't. The sound deepens, not air, but the faint rhythm of something alive. Your flashlight sputters. For an instant, it reveals a faint shimmer on the altar. You step closer. There's a thin layer of condensation on the stone-cold mist, where there shouldn't be any. The air smells faintly metallic, like old coins or blood. You lift the ring closer to your ear. There's a sound. Not a whisper, not exactly. It's more like someone humming beneath the metal, the low, slow vibration of a tune that never found an ending. You swallow hard, whispering, "If you're trying to serenade me, you're about 2 centuries late." The ring warms slightly in your hand as if laughing. You tuck it into your pocket and turn toward the back of the chapel. There's a broken staircase there, leading up to the choir loft. The boards are cracked, but the pull of curiosity is stronger than fear. You ascend carefully, one creaking step at a time. Up here, the air feels older. Dust thickens around the old organ. Its keys cracked and yellowed. Cobwebs hang like curtains, trembling slightly even though there's no breeze. You run your hand along the wooden railing. The dust sticks to your skin, gritty and cold. A book rests on the organ leather bound, edges blackened. You brush it open. It's a hymnal, but every line has been scratched out except for one, written in the margin with careful, shaking letters. She was promised silence, and we gave her the ground instead. You close the book, and as you do, one of the organ pipes exhales softly, a low note, like a sigh. You murmur, "Bless you." The sound answers with another faint sigh. 2 notes now, as if it's trying to match your tone. You back away. The wood under your feet groans again. Then, faintly, a metallic chime. You stop cold. It's the sound of a bell. You look down toward the altar. The sound came from beneath it, muffled but distinct, a tiny bell ringing somewhere below the stone. Once, twice, 3 times. You whisper to yourself. Someone buried a bell with her, like in those stories, in case she woke up underground. You try to laugh, but your throat is dry. Guess she finally got tired of waiting. The bell rings again, softer this time, like it's drifting farther away. Then silence. You descend from the loft slowly, flashlight trembling in your hand. When you reach the floor again, the air has changed. It's thicker now, humid, heavy with the smell of wilted roses. You kneel near the altar. The dust around it has shifted, forming a faint circle, as though something underneath has moved. You press your palm to the stone. It's trembling, almost imperceptibly, like a faint pulse buried deep below. You whisper, "But are you still down there?" The air answers with a faint sigh. You take out the ring again. This time, the initials are clear AL, and beside them, a date, 1794. The chapel shouldn't be that old. You check the inscription on the gate again in your memory, 1841. That's almost 50 years later, so the ring is older than the building. You stare at the floor. Beneath your feet, the faintest outline of a trapdoor emerges under layers of grime and wax. It's as if the wood itself wants to be seen again. You whisper, "No, not tonight. I'm not opening that." But your fingers already trace the outline, feeling for a latch. The bell rings again. You freeze. Then, without meaning to, you whisper, "Do you want to be found?" A faint vibration answers, not quite a yes, not quite a no, just movement. You take a breath, then another. You look around. The pews seem to lean slightly inward now, as if the entire chapel is watching. Your hand reaches the edge of the trapdoor. You pull once, it doesn't budge. You pull again, harder. Something clicks. The air pressure changes, the breathing stops. For a heartbeat, everything stands still, even the dust in the air seems frozen mid-fall. Then, from beneath the trapdoor comes a single whisper, a woman's voice, barely audible. "Please, let me out." You freeze. The whisper is faint, not a breath, not an echo, but a plea. "Please, let me out." The words drift through the cracks in the floor, soft as the mist outside. For a long time, you can't move. You tell yourself it's a trick of sound, maybe the wind through an old pipe, but no, this chapel has no pipes, no vents. Only the dead space beneath the wood. You lean closer, pressing your ear to the floorboards again. Silence. Then 3 gentle knocks, spaced apart. Knock, knock, knock. You whisper, "Someone's down there. I don't know how to help you." The air doesn't stir, but something shifts just below your ear, a soft, dragging sound, like fingers brushing the underside of the boards. You jerk upright. "Okay, that's enough for one night." Your voice trembles but tries to sound brave. The chapel doesn't care, it listens. You back away, reaching for the flashlight, but it flickers, sputtering between light and dark. Each flash shows a slightly different version of the room, the shadows longer, the air thicker. And on the final flicker, for just an instant, you see a hand pale, reaching upward through the cracks. When the light steadies again, it's gone. You laugh nervously. Right. Definitely not haunted. Just bad floorboards. Then, quietly, really bad floorboards. You kneel again, against every instinct screaming not to. The trapdoor's seam glints faintly beneath centuries of grime. You brush it clean. There's no handle, only a narrow slit where a small chain once hung. You shine your light deeper, and something inside the slit reflects it. Gold again. The same shade as the ring. You whisper. She dropped it, or maybe it was hers. Your words sound too loud, bouncing off stone and wood as if whispered by another mouth behind yours. You press your fingers into the gap and pull. The wood resists, swollen with age, then crack. It lifts an inch, releasing a puff of air that smells like earth and roses, rotten roses. You pull harder, and the panel shifts aside with a groan. A dark void yawns open beneath the altar, exhaling the breath of centuries. Your light trembles down into the darkness. You see stone steps spiraling down, old, wet, uneven. You whisper to yourself, "Well, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction might bury me." You almost smile, almost. The air below is warmer, heavier. You descend slowly, one step at a time. The wood gives way to stone, slick with moisture. Your shoes make faint squelching sounds. The smell intensifies, a mix of old earth, wax, and faint perfume. At the bottom of the stairs, you find a narrow corridor. The walls are covered in chalk symbols, crosses turned sideways, circles drawn around names you can't read. Every few feet, a candle stub has melted down to nothing, its wax frozen mid-drip. Your flashlight sweeps across a small alcove, an altar carved from the same stone, cracked in the middle. On it lies a small silver object, a bell. It's beautiful, perfectly preserved, gleaming faintly as though it has never tarnished. You hesitate before picking it up. The handle is wrapped in a silk ribbon, frayed and faded. The silk feels damp, yet warm like something recently held. You whisper, "Hello, are you down here?" The silence answers with a soft tinkle. The bell in your hand moves, just slightly, though you didn't shake it. You freeze. Your hand trembles. The bell sways once more, then goes still. You take a shaky breath and set it down gently. The air seems to breathe with you again. Inhale, exhale. The sound echoes faintly through the corridor, like something else breathing in rhythm. A low creak draws your eyes to the wall. A wooden beam shifts, revealing a recess, a small chamber hidden behind rotting planks. You crouch, shine your light inside. There's a coffin, wooden, narrow, pressed directly into the soil, as though whoever buried it ran out of time or mercy. The lid is sealed by iron nails, but one corner is cracked, just enough to see inside. You kneel closer. The crack reveals fabric white lace, yellowed with time. A wedding dress. Your stomach tightens. No, you whisper, no way. A faint sound answers from within the coffin, not breathing this time. Not even a voice. It's the soft slide of something moving against silk. You stumble back, knocking over the candle stub. The faint flame sparks to life, illuminating the coffin in a trembling orange glow. For a moment, you think you see her face pale, serene, lips barely parted. But her eyes seem open. You blink, the light dies. You whisper shakily, she's still. The bell rings again. Once, twice, then silence. You lift your light toward the coffin again. The crack is wider now. You whisper, I didn't touch it. Something cold brushes your ankle. You jump back, slamming against the wall. Nothing's there. Only the faint marks of fingers in the dust. You laugh weakly. Okay, very funny. You've got good timing. The air hums softly, as if amused. Then a whisper right by your ear this time. You found my ring. Your breath catches. The words are right beside your ear. Warm, close, and unmistakably real. You spin around, flashlight jerking wildly through the darkness, beam slicing across the damp stone walls. No one's there. The corridor stands silent again, save for the slow drip of water somewhere beyond sight. You whisper, who's here? But your voice sounds too small, too fragile to belong in this place. The air behind you shifts. A faint warmth brushes the back of your neck, the exact distance someone would stand if they were whispering just behind your shoulder. Give it back. Your flashlight flickers, and for a split second you glimpse something in the reflection of its lens, a veil, long and tattered, hanging in midair. Then it's gone. You touch your pocket, the ring. The warmth pulses stronger now, as if the metal recognizes its owner. You whisper, I didn't mean to take it. Silence. Then, somewhere down the corridor, you hear a faint rustle, the sound of fabric dragging across stone. It grows closer. Not footsteps, just the slow glide of something moving toward you. You raise your light again. The corridor stretches longer than before, impossibly so. The walls seem to breathe, expanding slightly with each flicker of your pulse. Your voice trembles. You can have it back if you just... A faint laugh interrupts you. Not mocking, not angry, just sad. Too late, it whispers. You've already worn it. You glance down. The ring is no longer in your pocket. It's on your finger. You swear under your breath, tugging at it, but it doesn't move. The metal clings to your skin. Colder now, tightening slightly as though sinking deeper. A sharp chill spreads through your hand, creeping slowly up your arm. You shake it, whispering, No, no, no. This isn't happening. The bell rings again, faint, distant. But this time you know exactly where it is inside the coffin. You turn toward it, pulse racing. The coffin lid, once sealed by rusted nails, now has a gap wide enough to see inside. The lace veil has shifted, revealing the faint curve of a woman's cheek. Her skin glows faintly pale in the dim light, too perfect to belong to something dead for centuries. And then her eyelids flutter. You stumble backward, your flashlight trembling. The veil lifts slightly with her breath, a slow inhale that shouldn't exist. Hello, you whisper. Can you hear me? Her lips part. They don't move naturally. The motion is slow, dry, deliberate, as if guided by invisible strings. Do you hear the bell? Your throat tightens. Yes. Then she still remembers me. You don't understand. Who? Her lips twitch into something that might be a smile or a spasm. The priest. You step closer despite yourself. Her hand twitches within the lace delicate, pale bones shifting under paper-thin skin. A faint shimmer of gold rests on her ring finger, the other half of the set. You lift your own hand without thinking. The rings glow faintly in unison, yours and hers. For a moment, the air feels warm, alive again. You can almost imagine the sound of a wedding choir in the distance. Faint, ghostly, echoing through time. Then everything goes cold. The candle flame extinguishes itself. The air freezes. The faint whisper of voices becomes one single word, repeated softly, endlessly. Buried, buried, buried. You stagger backward, tripping over loose stones. The corridor trembles. From the far wall, cracks crawl like veins across the surface, splitting open to reveal faint shapes behind faces, dozens of them, pressed into the stone, mouths open in silent screams. You scramble up the steps, clutching your flashlight like a weapon. Behind you, the coffin creaks. The bell rings louder now. Frantic. At the top, the trapdoor slams shut on its own. You press against it, panting, heart pounding in your chest. The wood is cold again, no heat, no breath, only stillness. And yet, you still hear the faint voice, echoing just beneath the boards. Don't forget me, you promised. You whisper through the floor, shaking. I didn't promise anything. The chapel stays silent. Then the ring on your finger tightens once more, almost affectionately, and a faint heartbeat pulses through it, matching your own. You whisper to yourself, all right, either I'm engaged or possessed. The attempt at humor doesn't help. Outside, the crow lands again on the rusted fence. It stares at the chapel, caws once, and takes flight toward the fog-covered Thames. The silence stretches. The air feels different now, like something waiting just beyond the edge of hearing. And then, faintly, you hear it again, boo, boo, the bell, but not from beneath the chapel anymore. It's ringing from inside your hand. You stare at your hand as the faint metallic ringing grows stronger. It's impossible. The sound is inside your skin, vibrating through bone and blood. The ring glows softly now, a dull golden pulse with each heartbeat. You whisper to yourself, it's okay, it's just in your head. But you know it isn't. You raise your hand toward the moonlight, slanting through the cracked window. The light bends around the ring, strangely, almost avoiding it. Shadows twist across your wrist, forming shapes that don't belong to any language you know. Then the whisper returns, faint, gentle. You wore my vow. Your heart stutters. Who are you? For a moment, there's no answer. Then a memory that isn't yours. A flash of white silk. The sound of bells. A man's voice reciting vows in Latin. The smell of wax and roses. Then, darkness. Soil pressing down. Screams. Swallowed by dirt. You gasp and stumble backward, clutching your head. The vision fades as quickly as it came, leaving only the echo of a heartbeat that isn't yours. You whisper shakily, you're the bride. You're the one buried down there. The air around you cools, as if the chapel itself acknowledges your realization. You glance down. The ring's glow dims slightly, like a sigh. I waited, the voice says. He never came back. They told him I was dead. Your throat tightens. You whisper, the priest. Silence, then softly. He sealed the vow with blood. You look toward the altar again. The dust seems disturbed now, swirling faintly even though there's no wind. Beneath it, faint symbols appear, the same Latin words as before, sub voto taciturnitatis, under the vow of silence. You murmur, he buried you alive, as part of some ritual. The voice doesn't deny it. Instead, it laughs softly, a sound not cruel, but tired. They said it was mercy, to keep me from speaking the curse aloud. You whisper, what curse? A pause. Then, barely audible, the truth. The words hang in the air like frost. You feel them settle in your bones. The ring tightens again, and you feel the faintest tug, as if something is pulling your hand toward the altar. Against your will, you take a step forward, then another. The wood creaks softly beneath your feet, complaining at your obedience. Do you feel it? She whispers. The ground remembers. You reach the altar and place your hand on its surface. It's colder than before, so cold that it burns. You flinch, but the ring keeps you pressed there. Then thump, a single heartbeat from beneath the floor, not yours. You pull your hand away. Ton, the mark of the ring has burned into your skin, a perfect circle of gold. You shake your hand, whispering, stop, please stop. The sound fades. Only your breathing remains. But the chapel looks different now. The pews are no longer covered in dust. Candles burn faintly in their holders. The air smells of lilies and wine. The cracked window is suddenly whole, and moonlight floods in like silver water. You turn slowly. The chapel isn't abandoned anymore. The benches are filled with people, faint, translucent figures in old clothes. Men in black coats, women with lace veils. Every face turned toward the altar, every pair of eyes empty. And beside the altar stands the priest, tall, gaunt, his face pale as chalk. He stares at you, and in his hand, he holds a bell. The bride's voice whispers again, trembling with emotion. That's him. You whisper, he's still here. The priest lifts the bell. It trembles once, then rings. The sound cuts through the air like a blade. The congregation rises as one, all those ghostly figures turning their hollow eyes toward you. The bride's voice sharpens. Don't let him ring it again. You step backward, whispering, I don't even know what's happening. But your feet sink slightly. The floor beneath you feels soft, pliant. You look down, the wood is gone, you're standing on soil. Dark, damp earth covers the entire floor. Your footprints sink deep. The smell of roses and decay fills the air again. The priest takes a step forward. The crowd hums softly, a low, wordless chant. You whisper, why are you showing me this? Because you're the only one who listened. The bride says, you opened the vow. The bell rings again, every candle goes out. Darkness swallows the chapel whole. Only your hand glows faintly, now the golden ring pulsing like a living thing. The voice whispers from within it. Urgent this time. Run before he binds you too. You turn toward the door. The outline of the exit glimmers faintly ahead, a rectangle of gray light. You run, stumbling through the thick, shifting earth. Hands rise from the ground, grasping your ankles cold, skeletal, yet strangely gentle, as if pleading. You wrench free, panting, the door just ahead. You reach for the handle, but when you pull it open, You see not the London street, but another staircase descending deeper into the dark. You stand frozen at the threshold. That door, the one that should lead back to the fog and the faint hum of London traffic, now opens only to another set of stairs, spiraling downward into utter black. Behind you, the bell rings once more, soft, deliberate. The sound rolls through the chapel like a slow heartbeat, and the air thickens with that scent again, damp soil, wilted roses, and something faintly metallic beneath. And you whisper to yourself, you can't still be ringing it, not after all this time. But part of you already knows she isn't the one ringing it anymore. You grip the door frame. The wood feels slick, almost breathing beneath your palm. The voice inside your head, the bride, murmurs faintly, "They buried me twice, once in the ground and once in memory, and once." You swallow hard, Maz. "Then where does this go?" you whisper. Her answer is slow, broken, like remembering hurts her. "To the first vow, the one he made before the curse." The first vow? You glance down the staircase again. The air rising from below feels different, warmer, older. It hums softly, the way earth hums when something alive moves deep beneath it. You whisper, "I shouldn't go down there." The voice sighs, almost tenderly. "You already have." And when you look again, your feet are no longer on the chapel floor. They're already on the first step. You didn't feel yourself move. The wooden door swings shut behind you with a hollow thud. The sound echoes down the stairwell like the end of a prayer. You descend slowly, one hand trailing along the damp stone wall. The ring still glows faintly, casting just enough light to see the edges of each step. The deeper you go, the less you smell roses and the more you smell earth. Wet, heavy, freshly turned earth. The sound of dripping water grows louder, or maybe it isn't water. The air grows warmer still, almost feverish, as if the ground itself is exhaling. You whisper, "If this is a bad idea, just blink twice." "Okay." But the ring stays dull. At the bottom, the stairs open into a wide underground chamber. The ceiling arches like a crypt, covered in moss and spider silk. Candles burn in niches along the walls, their flames steady despite the damp air. At the center lies another altar, but this one is made of black stone. Behind it stands the priest. He's not transparent like before. He's solid, too solid. His robes are faded, his skin cracked like old parchment, but his eyes burn with a soft, endless light. He looks at you with something between recognition and regret. "You were never meant to come here," he says softly. His voice sounds like it's being spoken through water. You take a step back. "Then why did you leave the door open?" He tilts his head slightly, as if the question surprises him. The vow opens itself to those who hear the bell. You heard it. You glance at your hand. "You mean this?" He looks at the ring and flinches, the faint light in his eyes flickering. "It chose you." "I didn't choose anything," you snap, your voice echoing off the stone. For a moment, you swear the shadows on the wall move, dozens of faint figures shifting just beyond the candlelight. You hear them whispering, overlapping voices, each repeating the same soft word, "Witness." You lower your voice. "You buried her alive." The priest's face tightens. "She broke her vow." "What vow?" He turns toward the altar, resting a shaking hand on its edge. "She spoke the words meant only for the dead." She said his name. "Whose name?" He hesitates. His gaze falls to the floor, the one she was never meant to love. You step closer. "You mean you?" He doesn't answer, but the silence is loud enough. The candles flicker violently. The walls seem to breathe again. The shadows, those faint, ghostly witnesses, begin to turn toward you. Their faces are blank, but you feel them watching. You whisper, "What did you do to her?" The priest's voice breaks. "I saved her soul." The vow of silence was mercy. If she spoke, the curse would spread to all who heard. She begged me to stop her, and I did. You whisper, trembling, "You buried her." He closes his eyes. "I buried the words." The bride's voice rises inside your head, trembling with fury. "He lies." You clutch your skull, wincing. Their voices overlap, his heavy and solemn, hers sharp and broken. She cursed herself. He insists. "He killed me to keep his secret." She cries. The chamber vibrates. The candles flare. The black altar cracks down the middle with a sound like thunder. The priest stumbles back, whispering frantic prayers in Latin. You catch fragments: absolve, purify, silence. The bride's voice whispers close to your ear again. "Lift the stone. Beneath it, you'll see the truth." You look down. The floor in front of the altar bears a faint symbol, 2 rings interlocked. The exact same design as the one you're wearing. The priest sees your eyes shift and yells, "Don't touch it," but the ring is already glowing brighter, pulling your hand downward. You kneel and press your fingers to the cold symbol. The ground hums. The interlocked circles begin to turn grinding stone against stone until a narrow seam opens between them. Warm air rises from below, carrying a sound, faint singing, hundreds of voices humming the same melody, wordless, mournful, endless. The priest collapses to his knees. You've broken the seal. You whisper, "Then maybe it was meant to break." From the crack in the floor, pale light spills upward, washing the chamber in ghostly white. The humming grows louder, rising into a symphony of sorrow. And in that light, you see her, the bride, standing behind the priest, her veil floating like smoke, her lips curved in something between peace and grief. She whispers, "Now you know." The priest turns, sees her, and the bell in his hand shatters into dust. The sound of the bell breaking echoes through the chamber, like the cracking of the world itself. For a heartbeat, nothing follows, no whisper, no movement, just the sharp, suspended silence after something impossible has happened. Then the light begins to change. It no longer shines from the floor, it breathes from her. The bride stands fully before you now, her veil, torn and translucent, flows as if underwater. The fabric moves without wind, and her eyes, pale gray like London fog, settle gently on you. The priest whispers, "It cannot be you." His voice quivers, breaking into an uneven rasp. "You were sealed beyond the vow. You left to die." She finishes softly, not to him, but to the air. Her tone is calm, sorrowful, almost tender. Then she turns to you. "You heard me when no one else did. That is why I chose you." You take a hesitant step closer. The light around her pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat, faint, slow, hypnotic. "What do you want from me?" Her smile flickers. "To be remembered." A pause. "And to finish what I began." The priest slams his hand on the altar. The black stone trembles again. Deep cracks spreading like veins. You cannot speak those words. You will unbind the silence. She looks at him, not angry, just tired. You broke your own vow long ago. The shadows lining the chamber stir again. Dozens of faint figures, the same spectral witnesses from before, begin to move. Their forms shimmer in and out of focus. Faces emerge only to fade again. They murmur softly, like a congregation praying under their breath. You whisper, "Who are they?" The bride answers without turning. The others buried beneath the chapel. The ones who took the vow after me. You look around. The air feels thick, electric. You mean, they buried more. The priest's eyes blaze. They chose to serve silence, to contain the curse she carried. The bride steps forward, the hem of her gown brushing over the cracked floor. They chose fear, and you fed it. The shadows react as if her words are wind. They sway, whispering faster. Some of them sink into the walls, others hover nearer to you. You can see through their faces now, each one with stitched lips. Threads of faint light where mouths should be. You whisper to yourself, no one deserves that. She turns back to you, you can set them free. The ring tightens. The pulse of light grows stronger. Now beating not just in your hand, but in your chest, as though your heart has synced with hers. How, you ask? By listening. You blink, listening. She nods. They need a witness, someone who will hear the last vow. The priest lunges forward suddenly, his cracked hand grabbing your arm. His touch burns cold. If you hear them, you'll carry them. His eyes lock onto yours, wild and desperate. Their silence will become yours. The bride's voice cuts through him, soft but commanding. He's right and wrong. Every vow has a price. You pull your arm free, heart pounding. If I listen, will it end? Her gaze softens. For them, yes. You look around at the faces in the dark, the faint shimmer of human sorrow trapped between prayers and dirt. You think of the whispers beneath the chapel, the hand brushing your ankle, the centuries of breathing under silence. Then I'll listen, you say quietly. The priest screams, no, but it's too late. The ring blazes bright white. The chamber vanishes in the light. And the whispers rush toward you, hundreds of voices all at once, flooding your ears, your mind, your soul. You hear fragments, confessions, cries, laughter, names long forgotten. One voice repeats, I was the mother. Another sobs, I lied for him. A third whispers, we buried her breathing. You stagger backward, clutching your head. The sound isn't painful, it's overwhelming. A river of memory pouring through a keyhole too small to hold it. Then, through the chaos, her voice cuts clear. You see now, it wasn't the curse that bound us, it was guilt. You open your eyes. The chamber has transformed again. The black stone is gone. The walls shimmer with faint light. Countless faces now peaceful, fading gently into dust. The priest kneels in the center, trembling, hands clasped together. His bell, once shattered, reforms in front of him. Whole, but silent. He looks up at you with hollow eyes. You've undone the vow, you've freed them, and doomed yourself. You whisper, what does that mean? He doesn't answer, Tani. The bride steps closer, Tana, her veil brushing your arm like a breath of cold air. Every silence needs a keeper, she murmurs. Every vow, a voice to remember it. You whisper, terrified, you want me to take your place. Her smile is faint, wistful. No, I want you to choose. The light around you dims, leaving only her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. If you walk back up those stairs, you'll forget everything. The voices, me, even the chapel. And if I stay, she leans closer, you'll remember it all forever. The priest raises his head weakly. No human can hold that memory. You'll drown in it. You whisper, then maybe I'll learn to swim. The bride exhales softly, something between a laugh and a sob. Then, Listen one last time. She lifts her hand. The ring on your finger burns white hot, merging with hers. And in that instant, every bell beneath London begins to ring. The bells echo through every vein of the earth. They don't sound like the ordinary bells of churches or towers. Their tone is lower, deeper, soaked in something ancient. Each note vibrates through your ribs, shaking your breath loose. You stumble back, covering your ears. But the sound is inside you now, humming through your bones, thrumming with impossible rhythm. Your voice cracks through the noise. What are you doing? The bride's veil flutters like a living thing, alive with unseen wind. I am giving them their voice, she says, and taking back mine. The priest collapses to his knees. His hands shake as he clutches the silent bell that has reappeared before him. You'll bring it back, he wheezes. The silence exists for a reason. You know what comes with the sound. She turns to him. It's already here. A shudder passes through the ground. The walls groan and twist, the air thick with the scent of metal and dust. You look up, the ceiling seems to move like water, rippling with dim reflections. The bride steps closer to you. The light surrounding her fades to something softer now, blue, pale, like moonlight filtered through tears. Her voice grows quieter. You hear them all now, don't you? You nod weakly. The chorus of voices still hums faintly in your head, hundreds layered atop one another. Some crying, some whispering prayers, others murmuring songs that never found an ending. They're not angry, you whisper. No, she answers, they're waiting. For what? For peace. You feel something stirring at your feet, the floor itself, the packed soil begins to shift, as if breathing again. Fingers of pale light snake through the cracks, weaving into patterns that resemble roots. Each root glows faintly golden before fading again, like veins of memory beneath the surface. The bride's figure begins to waver. You can see through her now. Her eyes, once heavy with centuries of sleep, soften. They can rest now, but only if I do. You take a step forward, then rest. Her voice lowers to a whisper that feels like a sigh brushing your neck. He won't let me. You look toward the priest. He's on his knees, muttering fragments of Latin, clutching the bell tight against his chest. I bound her, he says, trembling. If she sleeps, so does the city. The vow was never just hers, it holds London above the dead that built it. You stare at him in disbelief. You're saying this curse keeps the city alive. He nods weakly. Every foundation has a sacrifice. Hers was the first. The bride looks down, her voice barely audible. And the last? The bell in the priest's hands begins to vibrate again, faint at first, then violently. The light from the floor flickers with each tremor. You realize it's pulsing in time with the city's heartbeat, the rhythm of countless lives moving above. She whispers, if he rings it, the silence will return. All of this, their voice is mine, yours gone. You whisper back, then stop him. She looks at her hands, thin and translucent now, as if she's made of fog. I can't touch what was sanctified by faith. Her eyes meet yours. But you can. You stare at the bell. It's small silver, cracked, pulsing faintly with every heartbeat of the ground. The priest holds it close, his lips trembling around words older than any language you've heard. The bride's voice fades in your ear. Take it, before he seals us again. You hesitate only a second before moving. The priest looks up at you, eyes wild. No, you don't understand. The silence is mercy. You shout over the ringing, you call this mercy. He swings the bell toward you. The air ripples a blast of sound without noise, a shockwave of pressure that sends you sprawling backward. Your ears ring, your lungs burn. The world tilts sideways. The bride cries out, her voice raw, echoing in your head rather than your ears. Get up! You crawl forward, vision swimming. The priest staggers to his feet, raising the bell again. His arm glows faintly, veins of light crawling beneath his skin. You lunge, grabbing his wrist. The moment you touch him, the world shatters into flashes, memories that aren't yours flooding your eyes. You see him younger, human, kneeling beside a living woman in white, her hand in his, both weeping. Can't lose you, he says. You won't, she whispers, and smiles through tears. I'll just be quiet for a while. Then dirt, nails, the sound of bells, her breathing muffled by soil. You scream and tear the bell from his grip. The priest gasps, collapsing. The moment your hand closes around the bell, it burns like fire. You nearly drop it, but the ring on your finger cools the pain, fusing both relics together in a single pulse of light. The sound stops. Utter silence fills the chamber. Not the heavy kind from before, but pure, still, almost holy, quiet. The bride kneels beside the priest's body. Her hand hovers over his chest, a faint shimmer passing through her palm. He meant well, she says softly. Once, you whisper, "What now?" She turns toward you. Her outline flickers like a candle nearing its end. Now I rest. The ground trembles again. The light from the roots beneath the floor rises upward, tracing the arch of the ceiling, painting the stone in gold. The air fills with the faint echo of a song, wordless, gentle, almost like a lullaby. The bride takes one last step toward you. Her veil touches your face, cold, yet strangely comforting. You'll hear me sometimes, she says softly, in the ringing between storms. Then, with a final sigh, she dissolves into light. The roots fade, the chamber dims, the bell in your hand goes cold. You stand alone again beneath the chapel that no longer breathes. And somewhere far above, in the fog-covered streets of London, every church bell falls silent. For a long time, you simply stand there, your heartbeat echoing in the stillness she left behind. No bells, no whispers, just the slow sound of your own breathing. Then the ground exhales. A sigh so soft, you might mistake it for the wind ripples through the chamber. Dust drifts upward, spiraling lazily, catching the faint glimmer that still clings to the ceiling. You whispered, "It's over," but your words don't feel certain. The bell in your palm has changed. The silver has turned dull, the crack sealed by something that looks like frost. You hold it to your ear. It's silent, yet heavy, like it's filled with 1,000 unsaid words. You slip it into your pocket and turn toward the stairs. Each step upward feels longer than it should. The distance stretches, folds. The air grows colder the higher you climb, until it feels like walking through layers of time. When you finally reach the door, it yields easily. The chapel above looks untouched. Dust lies evenly again. Pews undisturbed. The altar clean of cracks. You could believe none of it happened except for the faint scent of roses still hanging in the air. You step outside. London is asleep. The fog rolls thick along the cobblestones, muffling every sound. Not a single bell rings anywhere in the city. The silence feels unnatural, like the city itself is holding its breath. You murmur, "She did it." And yet, somewhere beneath the relief, there's a sting of loss. You glance down at your hand. The ring remains. It no longer glows, but when you turn it in the dim light, faint words appear along the inner band. Remember me. A soft breeze stirs. You hear something distant, like fabric brushing against stone. You look back. The chapel door is still open. Of course it is, you mutter. She never did like goodbyes. Inside, the faint light of dawn filters through the windows. You notice something new. Cracked, but clean. It wasn't there before. You approach it slowly. In its reflection, you don't see yourself standing alone. Behind you stands a faint figure in white, smiling faintly. Your heart stutters. You spin around nothing. Back to the mirror, she's still there, hand raised, as if waving goodbye. You whisper, "Thank you." Her reflection nods once. Then the glass clouds over, the image fading into mist. You turn away, ready to leave, when a sound halts you faint, rhythmic, tap, tap, tap. You look down. Beneath the altar, dust shifts again, forming 3 small circles like fingerprints pressed into ash. A whisper brushes your ear. Not all vows end in silence. You smile weakly, shaking your head. You really can't resist a last word, can you? The chapel hums softly, a low vibration. Neither threat nor comfort, just presence. Outside, somewhere far across the Thames, a single bell finally dares to ring. It's faint, hesitant, but clear. The sound threads through the fog, carrying with it something strangely peaceful. You step out into the dawn. The fog glows pale gold as the first light spills across the city. Maybe the curse is gone. Maybe it's only sleeping. You take a deep breath. The air tastes clean for the first time. As you walk away, the ring grows warm once more, a steady pulse against your skin. Quiet but alive. And behind you, in the depths beneath St. Bridget's Chapel, something whispers a prayer that sounds a little too much like your name. The fog thickens again as you step farther from the chapel. Each street looks familiar, yet wrong. Lamplights glow too dimly. Cobblestones shift, faintly underfoot. And somewhere behind you, a door creaks even though the wind has died. You tell yourself it's over. You freed her. You freed them all. But as you turn onto the narrow alley that leads back toward the river, something doesn't feel right. The world has gone hollow. The air carries no hum of distant life, no footsteps, no carriages, no murmur of city breath. Just your own echo, following half a step too late. You whisper, "You're not following me." Are you? Silence answers, patient. You glance at your reflection in a puddle. The surface ripples faintly, but you didn't move. The figure reflected isn't copying you exactly. Its head tilts slightly to the side, like it's listening for something you can't hear. You kneel, staring closer. You again? The reflection smiles faintly, kindly. The same pale face, veil flowing behind it, eyes filled with the quiet sadness of centuries. The voice returns, soft and intimate, as though spoken from inside your ribs. "I said I would follow the sound, not you." You whisper, "Then why are you here?" "Because you carry the silence now." The ring tightens again, almost affectionately. The warmth inside it feels alive, pulsing in time with your heart. You sigh. "You mean I'm cursed?" "Cursed," she repeats. "No, chosen." You shake your head, half laughing, half frightened. "That's what people always say before something terrible happens." Her voice fades briefly, then returns softer. Something terrible did happen, long before you came. But the silence needs a keeper. until it learns to sing again. You stand, brushing damp from your coat. You make that sound poetic, but I think it means I'm doomed. The fog stirs. Somewhere behind you, the faint toll of a bell rings once, then stops. It's not the same tone as before. This one is dumb, tender, human. The bride's voice whispers, "I'm dead." You hear it now. That's the world trying to remember itself. You pause, letting the sound sink in. For the first time, the silence between each toll doesn't feel empty, it feels full. Breathing. You begin walking again, but the streets twist through the mist, guiding you toward the river. London looks different in the morning light, washed in gray, but calm, like an old scar that's finally healed. When you reach the bridge, you lean against the cold stone railing and stare at the water. The river is perfectly still, not even rippling under the light breeze. You catch movement in the reflection again. Behind you, faint and transparent, she stands one last time, the bride, smiling faintly, veil fluttering as though carried by invisible wind. "You can rest now," you whisper. Her head tilts, and I don't know. You look at your hand. The ring still glows faintly, but softer now, more like a heartbeat than a chain. "Maybe I'll walk until the bells start again." She nods, and the mist begins to pull her apart, dissolving her form into strands of silver that fade into the dawn. Her last words drift through the air like a sigh. Then listen closely. I might hum along. You stay at the bridge long after she fades, watching the fog curl and shift. Somewhere in the distance, a gull cries, sharp, alive. The city exhales again, as though testing its own lungs. You turn back toward the street, whispering to the empty air, "If you're still there, keep it quiet. All right, I've had enough surprises." A faint chuckle answers barely a sound, just a ripple of air, and for the first time, you smile. Because you know she's listening. And beneath your feet, far below the chapel and the river and the cobblestones of London, the old vow finally sleeps. The morning should have dissolved the night, but it doesn't. You walk until the fog thins, until the river looks less like a wound and more like a vein. Shops crack their doors. A milk truck rattles past. Ordinary things return with careful steps, as if not to wake whatever slept beneath St. Bridget's. You tell yourself it's finished. You even say it aloud. It's finished. The words don't stick. They slide off the air like rain off slate. You turn the ring once around your finger. Warm, then cool, then a faint tick, like a breath between two thoughts. You listen. Nothing. You almost laugh. Great. I've become a weather vane for the supernatural. A gull answers, indignant, like a professor correcting a novice. You decide to go home, just long enough to prove to yourself that doors still open to kitchens and not caverns. You climb your stairs, unlock the flat, and find everything exactly as you left it. The half-drunk tea, the book on your chair, the coat you meant to hang. You breathe in. Dust, soap, sun on glass. You should nap. Instead, you sit and stare at the bell you took from the priest. It looks harmless on your table, smaller in daylight. The silver has gone dull. The crack has sealed into a pale seam that catches light like a healed scar. You fold your hands. The ring warms, somewhere deep in the wood of the table. The grain hums, only for a second, then stillness again. You make a joke to the room because Rooms, like cats, behave better when they're addressed. If anyone starts lecturing, I expect footnotes. The kettle clicks behind you without being plugged in. You very calmly unplug it again, because dignity is important when your appliances develop an afterlife. You sit, you wait, you try not to listen. The city blurs into a soft, waking hush. Your eyelids lower, nearly sleep. Then the debate begins. It starts as a murmur in the ceiling, as if neighbors are arguing through the plaster. Then it deepens, multiplies. Voices emerge in layers old, dry. The parchment sound of men who've swallowed too much dust. The words arrive in Latin, but the Latin doesn't behave. It slides. Conjugations shear away from the stems. Meanings trade places like birds shifting along a wire. You stand fast, no meetings in my flat. The voices ignore you as academics do when they've discovered a niche argument. They fill the room without entering it. The air buckles, goes thin, then thick, as if you've opened a textbook to the page that still smells like the press. The first voice is crisp, bell metal bright. Sub voto taciturnitatis non ad mortem, sed ad evitandum sonum, under a vow of silence not unto death, but to avoid sound. Another replies, wetter, weary sed sonus oratur ex culpa, ergo tacere est purgare, but sound rises from guilt. Therefore to be silent is to purge. A third voice, silk sly, counters culpa nascitur ex conspectu, si nemo videt, nihil est. Guilt is born of being seen. If no one sees, nothing exists. You close your eyes. The ring warms until you feel your pulse in the metal. I'm not a classroom, you whisper. Still, the words choose you, hinge through you. They need a throat, they borrow yours, rich years. They stop. You say to the empty air, stop or speak plain. The voices hesitate. Then the first tries English, bone dry. We contend, cause. The second spills, we contend, mercy. The third purrs, we contend, usefulness. You steady your breath. About the bride. Yes, all of them agree. Layered like a cord. The room leans. A true horror comes quietly, then not with a scream, but with the gentle scritch of a pen across paper. Your curtains flicker, and a chalk-white hand writes its way along the wall without a body attached to it. The fingers dip into the plaster, as if it were dust on slate. Sketching lines you somehow understand, diagrams of the chapel's foundations, the way sound curls in stone, how bells shape air and air shapes memory. The hand pauses, then draws a tiny coffin and a tiny bell tied to a tiny wrist with a silk ribbon. The ribbon is colored by nothing at all, and yet you see it red. Do you remember the bell tied to the corpse, you whisper? The hand underlines the ribbon twice. The debate brightens, excited. The crisp voice declares, a practical device. Viva sepulta detection. Past custom. The weary one mutters, no. No monotum. Anime. A warning to the soul. The sly one sighs with pleasure, neither. An instrument tuned to obedience. Your stomach knots. The true horror isn't the burial. It's the idea that scholars argued its methodology like a footnote while a woman breathed dirt. You don't want to hear more. You do. What was the vow, you ask? The voices pile into each other. Latin fractures. Becomes music. then breaks again. Words spin out votum, silentium, devotio, remissio, nexus, vow, silence, devotion, release, bond. The meanings shuffle, settle, refuse you. The ring tightens, your breath slows, then aligns with a rhythm that isn't yours, the slow lift-fall you felt under the chapel floorboards. The scholars notice. Their tone changes, grayer, careful. Grayer. The crisp one, she said a name. The weary, she said a truth. The sly, she said no. The chalk hand writes a single Latin phrase along your wall, non consentio. I do not consent. Silence snaps in the room like a straw under a boot. You feel your throat open as if to swallow the whole sky. The ring scalds, then cools. Your eyes sting. Is that why they buried her, you ask? The weary voice answers first, gentler than before. They buried the refusal. The crisp voice adds, guilty, and the evidence of our error. The sly voice smiles inside your head, and a woman who would not obey is more dangerous than a ghost. Your tea kettle clicks again without plug, without heat, and releases a single thin wisp of steam that curls into the shape of a quill before vanishing. You try a joke to keep your edges from cracking. If this turns into a pop quiz, I'm failing. No one laughs. And that, somehow, is funny enough to let you breathe. You pace. Why come now? She has rested. Because rest alters canon. The crisp voice admits. What is sealed may be cited. The weary voice groans, and guilt seeks footnotes like rain seeks drains. The sly voice purrs. Also, you are convenient. Convenient, you repeat, flattering. If anyone hands out a syllabus, I'm leaving. A page turns that you cannot see, somewhere above the ceiling. Chairs shuffle. The debate leans forward. The chalk hand draws a new diagram. 2 interlocked rings, the symbol you turned at the black altar. Lines sprout from them like nerves, threading outward to little sketches of towers, bridges, crypts. London is a web of vows. You trace one line with your eye and feel it hum along your bones. The crisp voice, eager, redeemed, explains. We theorize the city's stability as a chorus of constrained utterances. The weary one sighs and never tested mercy. The sly one whispers until you, the ring pulses. Once, twice. On the third, the bell on your table trembles without sound. The chalk hand pauses, wrist cocked like a bird, listening to frost. The room thins to the width of a blade. From the hallway outside your flat, footsteps, slow, measured, a cane ticking, a second pair, lighter, dragging slightly as if someone walks with a veil that catches on nails. You don't move. You listen. The door doesn't knock. The footsteps pass. They stop. They return, hover, then withdraw like a tide that has reconsidered the shore. You whisper, if you're taking questions. Why me? The scholars speak together, not 3 but a chorus now because you hear the interval. The what? The space between tolls. The crisp voice isolates itself to define. Most love the bell. You feel the air it leaves behind. The weary voice adds, warmed. You hear what is owed to the quiet. The sly voice finishes. You are a poor vessel for secrets, and therefore the only honest one. You sit, suddenly tired. The chalk hand completes its last line, then taps the word remissio release twice. The wall shivers and smooths. The writing vanishes, leaving only the feeling of ink that never was. Is there anything left beneath the chapel, you ask? Anyone not released? The debate reverts to Latin, rapid, delighted demonialibus sub crypta tertia, de puellis non noctis, de sonitu intra ossa. Nuns under a third crypt. Unwed girls, sound inside bone. The phrases spill like coins. They contradict each other. They agree. They contradict again. It is dizzying. Like reading 3 marginalia in 3 centuries of the same book. You raise a hand. Enough. They quiet at once, surprised by your authority. Or your exhaustion. You soften your tone if you want peace. Say it plain. The weary voice. Grateful. We were wrong. The crisp voice. Fragile. We were cowards. The sly voice. Finally honest. We envied her voice. A breeze crosses the room without windows opening. It smells of lilies and wet stone. The bell on your table lets go a single audible note. Tiny. Pure. Like a drop of glass falling into a pool. It doesn't ring again. The kettle cools, the ceiling releases its ache. The scholars recede. Their last sentence comes braided memor esto. Remember. You almost smile. I was already planning to. Then, because the living must claim their share of the air, you add, and if you ever schedule office hours, send an invitation. I'll bring tea. And biscuits. Bribes work on scholars. Even dead ones. A faint rasp, almost a laugh, trails the voices down the stairwell of silence. You lie back on the chair and let the city's ordinary noise return a cart, a child, a dog scolding pigeons. The ring cools, the bell stays put, your wall is clean. You think you might sleep, but just before your eyes close, a small, inexplicable detail tilts the world again. The shadow of the bell on your table is wrong. It falls toward the light. It shouldn't. It does. And in that shadow, a thread of silk appears for a heartbeat, as if tied from your wrist to something beneath the floor of a chapel you are no longer in. You whisper, eyes on the not quite there ribbon. All right, I'm still listening. The shadow blinks. The ribbon fades. The room, finally, mercifully, grows quiet. You wake to the sound of your own breath, fogging the morning light. For a moment, you can't remember where you are. The walls look too white, the air too still. Then you notice the ring, glinting faintly on your hand, and everything rushes back. The bell on the table sits exactly where you left it, yet the dust around it forms a perfect circle, as though it has been gently turning all night. You whisper. You didn't sleep either, did you? A faint vibration answers from the wood, just one pulse, almost friendly. You stand, stretch, and look toward the window. London glows, pale and tired. A city that has lived through too many stories. The fog has lifted, but the silence remains not absolute, not menacing, just listening. You make tea without plugging the kettle in this time. It obliges anyway, humming quietly like an obedient ghost. You pour a cup and sit back down beside the bell. So, you say softly, is this what being the keeper feels like? No answer, but somewhere beneath the floorboards, you think you hear breathing slow, deep, ancient. You glance down. The floor hums faintly in response, like it's aware of your attention. The city itself feels alive, and somehow it feels like you are part of its lungs now. You sip your tea. You're making me sentimental. You know that. Then, softly, someone knocks. 3 times. You freeze. The sound doesn't come from the door. It comes from inside the wall. You set your cup down gently, whispering, "Don't you start that again." The knocking stops. Then tap, 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 a rhythm now. Measured and deliberate, almost musical. You stand and press your ear against the plaster. A voice follows. Faint, but clear. The way an echo might sound if it were waiting patiently for you to find it. You can't rest yet. You whisper, "Who are you?" No response. Only the sound of something being dragged lightly across the wall. You step back, watching in disbelief as letters begin to carve themselves into the surface, tiny cracks spreading to form words. "The bride's below." You whisper, "No?" The air chills. "Yeah." The memory of her voice floods your mind, that soft tone, that half smile when she said, "They buried more." You rush to the door. The hallway beyond is empty, filled with that pale London gray. Every sound in the city feels muted, like the world is holding its breath again. You mutter, "Not again, not another vow." But then you remember her words, "Every vow needs a keeper." You whisper, "No, I'm not going back down there." Yet your hand's already trembling on the doorknob. The ring begins to pulse again, not bright, just enough to feel like a heartbeat beneath your skin. The sound of bells returns, distant but insistent, echoing up through the soles of your feet. Not one bell this time, many. Dozens, maybe hundreds. You whisper, "They're calling from under the city." The air thickens. You close your eyes and listen. Each toll feels older, deeper, like a heartbeat made of stone and memory. When you open your eyes, sight, the world has changed again. The street outside your window bends and stretches. Cobblestones ripple like water. The buildings lean slightly inward, as if bowing to something below, as if bowing to... You whisper, "I said I was listening, not returning." The voice that answers isn't hers. It's older, colder. You cannot unhear what you've heard. The words slide through your chest like wind through an empty corridor. You grab your coat and stumble into the street. London looks wrong again, not haunted, expectant. Every bell tower in the skyline trembles. You can feel them humming, resonating through the bones of the city, through the bones of you. A street lamp flickers above your head, then bursts quietly, scattering sparks like dying fireflies. The smell of iron fills the air. You whisper, "She freed them? So what are you?" No answer, only that same rhythmic knocking now echoing from every direction. You realize the city itself is knocking. From under every cobblestone, from beneath every church, every bridge, every forgotten cellar. You stand perfectly still, listening. The rhythm matches the toll of the bells. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. A signal. A language older than speech. Your heart begins to synchronize with it, the ring glowing faintly brighter with every beat. A whisper curls around your ear again, not hers, not the priest's, but something deeper. You opened 1 vow. There are 19 more. You whisper, "No, no more graves, no more brides." The voice almost laughs, soft, amused, ancient. They are not graves. A pause. They are doors. The fog rolls back across the street, covering everything again. You look down at the ring. The glow has changed. It's no longer gold. It's red. You whisper to the empty air, "And what happens if I open another?" The wind answers with a single distant bell, slow, heavy, echoing across the whole city. You close your eyes, breathe once, and whisper, "Then I guess I'll listen again." The sound fades, swallowed by silence, but the air feels different now. Because somewhere deep beneath your feet, something has started to wake. You don't remember deciding to move. but your feet are already carrying you back toward the river. London's streets stretch and fold as if they've been waiting for you to take this path. The air thickens again, damp with that faint metallic scent, earth and memory. You mutter, "Not doors." Huh, and laugh under your breath. The sound feels thin, swallowed too quickly. The ringing in your hand grows steadier, now matching the pulse of the city around you. Every bridge, every tower seems to hum with the same invisible rhythm. You pass St. Paul's and feel the stones thrum beneath your shoes, almost tenderly. The voice hers returns, distant, whispering beneath the wind. Don't follow the bells, follow the silence between them. You pause on the corner of Ludgate Hill, waiting for the next chime. It comes faintly 3 notes, then nothing. The space afterward feels warm, magnetic. You step into it. The world shifts. The city blinks away. You stand in a narrow tunnel of brick, glistening with moisture, lanterns flickering from rusted hooks. The air carries the perfume of roses again, and underneath it, the slow rhythm of breathing. You whisper, "I'm underground again." No response, only the drip of unseen water. You lift your flashlight, its beam wavers through the tunnel, revealing hundreds of tiny carvings etched into the brick. Circles, crosses, bells, rings. Your chest tightens. Each symbol is followed by a single name. Isabella, Clara, Ruth, Adeline. You run your hand across one of them. The letters carved shallow and shaky, like by someone buried alive. The ring pulses softly. You feel warmth against your palm. Then a faint image blooms in your mind. A woman's face, veiled, whispering through soil. We waited. You stumble back. There are more of you. The tunnel breathes, answering with faint sighs from the walls. You start forward cautiously, following the faintest glimmer of light ahead. The deeper you go, the more the tunnel widens, until it opens into a vast chamber, lit by hundreds of hanging candles. Their wax drips like pale rain, coating the floor in white rivers, and there lining the walls are coffins. Dozens, maybe hundreds, each one carved from dark oak, each one sealed with iron, each marked by a single rose. You whisper, "No, this can't be real." The air thickens, filling with the scent of decay and perfume. The roses tremble slightly, as if touched by unseen breath. The ring glows brighter. Your hand lifts toward one of the coffins almost without permission. "Don't," says a voice behind you. You whirl around, but there's no one there, only flickering candlelight. The voice comes again, this time from everywhere. "If you open them, you wake them all." It's the priest. You recognize the voice, weary, cracked, worn thin by eternity. You whisper, "You're dead." "Death doesn't mean silence," he says. "You heard her. You carry her vow now." You clench your fist. You lied. You said freeing her would free them. The air shifts. The candles flicker violently. "I said it would change them." He answers, "Did you think the vow ended with one voice?" You whisper, "What are they?" "The others who were buried for speaking what should not be spoken. Each one carries a word, and together, those words make the name she tried to say." The bride's voice slides softly into his, like wind through the same flute. "If my name is spoken whole, the silence will end. The city will break." You turn slowly, looking around the chamber. The coffin's roses begin to wilt in unison, petals falling silently. The air grows warmer, pulsing in rhythm with your heart. The priest whispers, "And if you love her mercy, keep the vow shut." You shake your head. You don't get it. It isn't mercy, it's fear. He answers, almost pleading. The silence protects the living. You cannot hold that name. The bride's voice trembles inside your mind. He's wrong. The silence only feeds itself. It swallows every truth until nothing human remains. The candles nearest you sputter out. The ring burns hot. A heartbeat that isn't yours begins under your skin. You whisper, what if there's another way? Both voices answer at once, one with hope, one with terror. There isn't. You kneel before one coffin. The rose atop it has withered entirely. You brush the petals aside, revealing faint carved letters beneath Adeline L. You whisper, the same initials as the ring. The bride's voice murmurs, she was the first. The vow began with her. You look at your hand. The ring pulses once, twice, then cools suddenly. The silence grows heavy. Expectant? You whisper, oh, if I open it, I'll know the first word. The priest shouts, you'll kill the city. The bride whispers, you'll save us all. The candles flicker out completely. Darkness consumes the chamber. You close your eyes and place both hands on the coffin lid. The wood is warm, as if someone inside is breathing. You whisper, then let the truth breathe too. And you push. The lid gives way with a soft sigh. A bloom of warm air escapes, smelling of roses and dust. The darkness around you stirs, and a single voice rises, pure and soft, carrying one word that feels older than time. Alora. The name hangs in the air like a bell. You whisper it back, Alora, and the entire chamber answers with one long, shuddering breath. The chamber exhales. Every candle flame bends toward you, drawn to the word still trembling on your tongue. Alora. It isn't just a name, it's a sound that carries weight, a note that vibrates through the marrow of the city. The roses burst into bloom again. Instantly, violently, red petals fill the air, spiraling upward like birds escaping a grave. You stagger back, shielding your eyes, and for a heartbeat, you think you can see faces within the petals. Women's faces, hundreds of them, whispering through the wind. The bride's voice trembles through your mind. You've spoken the first word. The priest's voice follows immediately, trembling with horror. Then you've doomed us all. The light grows brighter until it's nearly blinding. You fall to your knees, gasping. The air feels alive, pulsing, breathing, aware. When you open your eyes again, the chamber is gone. You're standing on a narrow bridge, high above the river. The fog swirling below like a sea of ghosts. London stretches in every direction, silent. Every bell tower glows faintly red, the same color as the ring. You whisper, where am I? The bride's voice answers, softer now. Between the vow and the world. The place where both remember each other. You whisper, Melora, that was you. Her voice wavers. That was the name they buried. And there are more words, you ask. Ishu. Yes, she breathes, 19, each locked inside another bride, each carrying part of what I am. You stare out across the fog, and if I speak them all, the silence will end, she says quietly. Every voice that was buried will rise. The priest's voice cuts through hers. Desperate now. Don't listen. The vows hold the foundations of the city. They were built to contain the resonance. If they all awaken, the world will remember, she finishes. You press your palms to your temples. I can't be the one to choose this. But you already are, she whispers. The wind rises. The river below starts to shimmer, not water now, but liquid light, shifting between silver and red. The bridge vibrates under your feet, humming with the same rhythm as the ring. You clutch the railing. What happens if I stop now? The bride answers, "Oh." Then the others remain buried, one forgotten. They'll whisper for eternity, but no one will hear. The priest interrupts, voice hoarse with fury. "And what happens if you continue? London will drown in sound. The earth will shake until every bell shatters." You stare at the ring. The glow has softened, like a candle at the edge of dying. You whisper, "I just wanted to help." The bride's tone softens. "And you did. You gave me back my name." Then, quietly, but mercy is never simple. The air thickens again. The light from the bell towers across the city flickers. One by one they flare, then darken, like a heartbeat slowing. The priest speaks again, quieter this time, as though he's close behind you. "If you stop now, you can still leave. Forget the vow. Forget her. Live." You turn slowly, expecting to see his spectral figure. Instead, a man stands before you alive, breathing, but impossibly old. His robes are tattered, but his eyes are sharp, filled with exhaustion. He looks almost human again. You whisper, "How are you?" He smiles faintly. "I was never entirely dead. Some vows keep their keepers alive." You step closer. You knew this would happen. He nods slowly. "Every vow needs a witness. Every curse needs a choice. And you made yours centuries ago." You whisper, "You buried her." His voice trembles. "Because I loved her." The words sting more than you expect. "Then why curse her?" "Because she said the name that cannot be said." He pauses. "She spoke the origin, the sound before creation. It's not a word, it's truth. If spoken fully, the world unravels and begins again." You whisper, "Then why does she want me to finish it?" He looks past you, toward the glowing towers, "Because she's tired of being the beginning." The bridge shakes violently. The fog beneath surges upward like a storm. The air screams, wind and bell and breath colliding in a single chord. You fall to your knees, clutching your head. The ring burns again, the metal digging into your skin. The bride's voice returns, broken and furious. "Let me speak. Let me end." The priest shouts, "Silence her, or all will fall." The world fractures around you, the bridge splitting into shadows and light. You scream, "Enough." Everything stops. The wind dies, the bells fall silent. The world hangs in perfect stillness. You stand slowly, trembling. The priest and the bride now face each other across the bridge, one made of flesh, one of mist, both waiting for you. The bride whispers, "Let me finish what I started." The priest says, "Hold the vow. Keep her quiet." You stand between them, the ring glowing like a heartbeat caught in glass. And for the first time, you realize what it means to be the keeper, not to silence, not to speak, but to choose. You whisper, "Then I choose to listen." The ring flares, a burst of red light that blinds you completely. The world folds inward, and the bridge crumbles beneath your feet. You fall not through air, but through memory, through centuries of silence breaking into sound. And below, in the darkness, the other brides begin to wake. You fall through silence that feels alive, not empty, but full of everything that has ever been unsaid. There's no wind, no gravity, only weightless descent through echoes. For a moment, you see the city above towers bending like reeds, bells frozen mid-swing, the river suspended mid-wave, and then London fades away entirely. You land softly on what feels like earth, warm, breathing. You open your eyes. You're standing in a vast, endless cavern filled with faint amber light. The walls pulse like living skin. Every surface hums with a low vibration. The heartbeat of something ancient. You whisper, "Where am I?" The bride's voice answers from everywhere and nowhere, in the chamber beneath all chambers, where the vows were born. Her voice doesn't echo, it flows, as if carried through blood. You turn slowly, the air ripples, and figures begin to appear. Dozens of women in white. Their veils drift upward like smoke. Each of them holds a bell, silent and dark. They stand in a circle around you, eyes closed, lips stitched shut with gold thread. The bride steps forward from among them. Her veil glows faintly, as if lit from within. These are the ones who spoke before me, she says softly. The first brides, the first voices. You whisper, what do they want? To be heard? She walks toward you, each step leaving a faint shimmer of light on the ground. Her eyes, deep gray, rimmed in shadow, hold both grief and gratitude. You broke the vow, you gave me my name. But that was only the beginning. The silence wasn't a curse, it was a covenant. The priest's voice rises behind you. But when you turn, he's not the man anymore. He's something older, tall, thin, eyes hollow and glowing like dying embers. His robe dissolves into shadow. She lies, he says, though his voice trembles. The covenant was never meant for mercy. It was a seal to hold the first sound beneath creation. The first sound, you whisper. The bride nods slowly. Before there was light, before there was language, there was one sound, a single note that shaped everything. They called it the word of beginning. The priest snarls, and the word of ending? The ground trembles, cracks spiderweb through the living earth. The brides sway but do not move. Their bells remain still. You step forward, shaking. So that's what the vow was for, to keep that sound buried. The bride's tone is calm, steady. Yes, but not to protect life, to control it. The priests feared it, so they silenced it. They silenced us. The priest spreads his arms. We preserved the world. If the first sound returns, all creation will sing itself apart. You whisper, and if it doesn't return, the bride answers quietly. Then it dies slowly, every day. Forgetting what it was, you look around at the brides. They don't seem afraid. They seem waiting. Their stitched mouths tremble faintly, like leaves about to break free in the wind. You whisper, so that's why you called me to finish it. She nods, to speak what was never finished. The priest's form flickers. His shadow lengthens across the cavern, black and endless. If you speak the full word, the earth will unmake itself. You'll bring silence, so pure, it burns. The bride's light brightens. If we never speak it, we remain prisoners of fear. You press your hands to your ears. Stop, I can't. The ring glows again. Searing hot, you scream. Light spills from between your fingers. And when you open your palms, the glow forms letters in the air, ancient, shifting, unrecognizable. The bride's voice breaks into a whisper. The word remembers you. The priest roars, lunging toward you. No, you cannot carry it. But his hand passes through you, and when it does, his shadow unravels, scattering into hundreds of smaller shapes that drift upward like black dust. You fall to your knees. The ring pulses with every heartbeat of the world. You hear the bells again, faint, gentle, like raindrops. Each bride begins to move. Their hands lift their bells, one by one, until every single one trembles in the air. The bride kneels before you, veil brushing your cheek. Say it, she whispers. Your throat tightens. I don't even know the word. You do, she says softly. You've been saying it since you arrived. The sound builds around you, not melody, not language, just resonance. You realize she's right. The hum that has followed you since the chapel, the breath beneath every silence, it's the word itself. Not meant to be said. Only meant to be heard. You inhale slowly, and instead of speaking, you listen. And that's when it happens. The bells ring in perfect unison, hundreds of tones blending into one endless note that vibrates through your entire body. The bride's mouths open as the golden stitches fall away, and from each comes the same sound, the first sound. It's not a scream, it's not a song, it's both, and neither. It fills you, fills the air, fills the universe. The cavern begins to dissolve. The walls melt into light. The earth hums like a heartbeat at peace. The priest's final whisper comes from far away. May God forgive you. The bride's voice answers. Fading. He already did. He always did. And then, for the first time since the world began, there is no silence, only harmony. You close your eyes and let it carry you. The sound becomes everything. You can't tell where your body ends and the vibration begins. It moves through you, gentle yet infinite, like being cradled by the heartbeat of the world itself. You try to open your eyes, but there's no longer any difference between dark and light. Only the pulse, only the hum. At first, it feels peaceful. The sound carries memories, thousands of them, woven together like strands of silk, the laughter of children by a river centuries ago, the scraping of quills in forgotten monasteries, the cries of lovers saying goodbye under collapsing walls. Every echo that had ever been buried beneath the vows rises into the open air, and then the hum begins to shift. It fractures not into chaos, but into layers, harmony spiraling out of one another. Each tone reveals a story. Each silence between them holds another truth. You see them, the bride, standing around you once more. Not ghosts now, but women. Real. Alive. They breathe in rhythm with the sound. Their faces glow with the calm of those who have finally remembered themselves. One of them, the bride you first freed, Alora, kneels beside you. Her hand hovers over your chest. You're still here, she whispers. You try to answer, but your voice doesn't work. The sound is speaking for you. She smiles faintly. The word has found its vessel. You shake your head weakly. No, I'm not. But even the act of denying it sends another ripple through the air. And the world around you responds. Far above, in the sleeping city, every bell that had fallen silent begins to tremble again. The tones overlap, slow and deep, like the breathing of a great, unseen giant. Alora looks upward. It's waking. The city, you whisper. No, she says softly. The world beneath it. The ground glows through cracks in the stone. Beneath the bride's feet, molten light seeps upward, tracing veins through the earth like living gold. The chamber grows brighter until it feels like you're standing inside the heart of a star. You whisper, what's happening? Alora's eyes meet yours. Every vow was a door. You opened the first, and now they're opening themselves. You glance around as the other brides lift their faces toward the light. Some weep, some laugh softly. Others simply breathe for the first time in centuries. The bells they hold melt into dust that rises like fireflies, dissolving into the golden air. The priest's voice returns, distant, but echoing from everywhere, even the light. Stop this. Do you not feel it? The world cannot contain the sound. Laura whispers. He fears the truth more than the end. The golden glow brightens until you can see through the world itself. Cities, rivers, mountains all shimmering like glass under a current of music. You see people above, unaware, walking beneath towers that hum faintly with each note. Their shadows pulse in time with the rhythm. Your own heart matches it perfectly now. You realize with quiet dread that it's no longer beating for you. It beats with something else. Alora, you whispered, if this continues. It will continue, she says, until the last silence is gone. But what happens to me? Her gaze softens. You become what we were meant to be, the voice that remembers. You stagger. The weight of the sound is unbearable now, pressing down on your ribs, trying to escape through every breath. I can't hold it. Yes, you can. Her voice is close, tender, calm. You've been holding it since the chapel. You were chosen because you could listen. You fall to your knee. The world feels thin, the air cracking like fragile glass. Above, the bells ring faster, their tones blurring into one continuous note. The priest screams from somewhere in the brilliance. It's not listening anymore, it's devouring. He's right. The harmony isn't gentle now, it's consuming, folding everything into itself. You can feel buildings dissolving into vibration, time unraveling like a thread. You shout through the noise, Alora, stop it. She kneels beside you, her veil brushing your shoulder. It's too late to stop. The word has to finish. Then what happens? Her hand presses to your chest again, directly over your heart. When it ends, she says softly, there will be silence again, but it will be a new kind, the kind that remembers the sound. Her words settle into you like warmth. You realize that she isn't frightened. None of them are. For the first time, the silence that's coming isn't punishment, it's peace. You close your eyes and let the sound rise. Your body dissolves into vibration, no longer separate from the music, no longer bound by fear. The last thing you hear before everything folds into light is Alora's whisper, gentle as breath. Listen to the last bell. It rings once soft, clear, eternal, and then the world goes quiet. At first, there's nothing. No light, no air, no self. Only the faint aftertaste of sound, the memory of vibration. You exist inside it, like a note that refuses to fade. You think I should be dead. But the thought has no sound, no weight. It passes through the silence like smoke through glass. Slowly, something begins to form, not sight, not body, but awareness. A pulse, steady and distant, calling you back towards shape. You drift closer. The first thing you feel is warmth, then pressure faint, rhythmic, then breath. You open your eyes. You're lying on damp stone, staring up at a low ceiling. The air smells of dust, wax, and roses. The chapel. You sit up slowly. The world sways, thick with haze. Every sound feels too sharp, too clear. The ticking of a droplet, the settling of wood. Your own heartbeat drumming like thunder in your skull. You whisper, it's over, but even that whisper carries a faint echo that doesn't belong to this world. The pews stand where they always were, the altar cracked but whole. The broken window glows faintly with morning light. And yet everything feels alive. The walls breathe. The dust dances as if caught in a slow, invisible rhythm. You press your palm to the floor. It's warm again. Alora, you call softly. For a moment, no answer. Then, the faint sound of bells far away. Gentle. One ring, then another. but not from below, from above. You stand, dizzy, and stumble toward the doorway. Outside, the city stretches before you, quiet, but not silent. The fog drifts over rooftops, and from every tower, every steeple, bells begin to ring. Bells, not mournful, not heavy, just alive. Their tones overlap, hundreds of them, blending into a music you've never heard before. It feels like the city is breathing again, like every building, every stone remembers the heartbeat beneath it. You whisper, "She did it." The sound carries farther than you meant it to. Across the street, a stranger pauses mid-step and looks around, puzzled. Others stop too, drawn by something they can't name. They stand still, listening. The bells keep ringing, not in unison, but in conversation, a dialogue of tones. You can almost hear words in them: forgiveness, release, beginning. You press a hand to your chest. The ring is still there, but the metal has cooled, dull and ordinary. The letters inside have changed again. Now they read, "Keeper of the Interval." You almost laugh. I didn't sign up for this job. A faint breeze stirs. It carries the smell of rain and roses. Then, softly, a voice behind you. "You did when you listened." You turn. Alora stands in the chapel doorway. She isn't glowing now, just a woman. Barefoot on the stone, veil tucked loosely around her shoulders. The morning light paints her face with gold. You whispered, "I thought you..." She smiles gently. "I did. But endings are never as simple as death." You step closer. "What happens now?" She glances toward the city. Now the vows sleep again, not in silence, but in balance. You gave the world its breath back. And I'm part of that breath, she says softly. Every time a bell rings, every time someone whispers the truth, instead of burying it, I'll be there. You exhale slowly, so the curse is gone. Her smile fades slightly. Curses don't vanish. They just change shape. You nod, half smiling. That sounds like something you'd say. She laughs quietly, a sound like water against glass. And you, keeper, will have to make sure it never binds again. You glance toward the river, where the fog rolls back to reveal sunlight for the first time in what feels like forever. And if I fail, she looks at you, her eyes full of centuries. Then you'll hear me again. You both stand in silence, watching the city wake. For the first time, the quiet isn't heavy. It feels sacred, balanced, full of life. She takes one step backward toward the doorway. Light begins to spill through her like mist through stained glass. "Goodbye," she whispers. You whisper back, "Good night." Her smile softens, and she fades completely into the morning light. The bells continue ringing, then slowly they quiet. You turn toward the altar. The stone bears no cracks now, just the faint carving of a circle crossed by two rings. You trace it with your finger. It feels warm. A single rose lies at its center, petals still dewy, scent impossibly fresh. You whisper, "Rest now." Outside, the wind shifts. The sound of the last bell rolls through the air, one perfect tone, pure and endless. It fades into the distance, and then there is silence. Not the silence of fear, the silence that listens. You don't plan to return beneath the chapel, but your feet remember the way. The door sighs when you push it, like a tired throat opening for one last word. Dust swims in the beam of your flashlight. The air is cooler again, not cruelly cold, just enough to make your breath bloom in pale flowers. The floorboards answer your steps with a soft, wooden shiver, as if the building recognizes the weight of you now. You tell the darkness, "Mine." I'm only checking that everything's quiet. The darkness, obliging, grows quieter. Great, you whispered. That was not a challenge. You kneel at the trapdoor and touch the seam you once lifted. It feels different, not swollen with centuries, but pliant, almost politely expectant. The ring on your finger gives one small pulse, and then another. You breathe in, out. You lift. The stairs receive you like a throat recovers a swallowed name. Down you go, 1, 2, 20 steps, until the familiar corridor widens into the low vault with the black altar, now gray, no longer cracked. The candle stubs have reformed themselves into smooth white columns that don't burn so much as glow from within. You think you smell rain on stone, and beneath it, roses. She is waiting. Alora stands with her hands folded over the spot where a heart would hum. No veil tonight. Her hair spills like dark water along her shoulders, and her eyes that old, river gray, hold you with an ease that both calms and frightens. She is not quite light, not quite flesh. A pause between bells, shaped like a woman. You came back, she says, as if you'd merely stepped into the garden for air. I wanted to make sure it held, you answered, the balance. It holds, her voice is dusk, but endings ask for courtesy. You try a smile, a guest book, a mint on the pillow. Her mouth tips in a sad curve. A farewell. Your throat tightens. You said goodbye on the bridge. That was for the city, she says, stepping closer. This is for you. The candles dim when she nears. The way rooms hush when someone beloved walks in. The air cools to the temperature of memory. She stops at arm's length. You can see the pores of absence on her skin. A snowfall of faint light where warmth should be. There is a custom, she says softly. Older than vows and graves. A last kiss to close a door that should not open again. You can't look away. You want a kiss? She finishes. It binds nothing. It unbinds the ache. You laugh once, brittle, if anyone asks. I'm not in the habit of kissing metaphysics. Her gaze warms. You kissed danger the night you opened the trapdoor. She isn't wrong. Something in the walls shifts, a low rolling, like a large animal turning in sleep. You remember the priest's shattered bell, the first time you felt breath rise through the boards like warm mist. The silver chime that taught your bones a new rhythm. You take one step forward. A draft circles your ankles, gentle as a cat deciding you belong. The candles sigh. The ring cools. She lifts her face. Wait, you murmur. Is this safe? No kiss is safe, she says, almost laughing. Only honest. You are so close now that you smell her, not lilies, not earth, but the exact scent of the chapel, moments after rain. Your mouth opens on a breath you didn't know you needed. Her hands rise. They don't reach you. They wait the way water waits for skin. Do you hear it? She whispers. You listen. There, far above, faint as the thinnest seam of light, the city's bells murmur to one another in their new grammar question. Answer, amen. Between those tones, the interval you keep thrums like a heartbeat in a cradle. I hear it, you say. Then come quietly, she answers, and take nothing with you that will break in the dark. The horror arrives the way real horror often does, softly. A draft from nowhere licks your lips with winter. Your teeth twinge as if a storm is near. The shadow at your feet peels away from you, stands up thin as paper, and leans its head to the altar like a penitent. You smell iron through roses, a memory of nails. Short, hard beats of silence, then breath. You close the last inch. Her mouth is colder than stone. Not absence cold, deep cold. The kind that remembers snow no one living has seen. The first touch is a wound of sweetness. Your lips numb. Your eyes flood with hot tears that don't fall. You feel the history of her sealed behind that chill. And for a second you are in a coffin with lace in your teeth, bells in your wrists, and soil pushing the truth back down your throat. You flinch. She steadies you with a breath you cannot see. Easy. She whispers against your mouth. In, out. You obey. The cold eases to clarity. The old panic drains like fever. Your tongue tastes the faintest sweetness rosewater that has learned to forgive. And then stranger still warmth blooms under the cold, like a candle lit in a cave. Your chest loosens. Your shoulders forget their century. A footfall echoes behind you. You break the kiss and turn. No one is there. Only a thin smear of frost strolling along the wall at shoulder height, pausing by the ghost of the priest's bell niche as though listening, then continuing toward the stairs. You swallow. We have company. She shakes her head, a leftover argument. What some debates don't die when men do, right on cue. The air scribbles. Two voices spark into the chamber. Academic as dry oak, osculum passus. The first intones, bright as chalk. The kiss of peace, osculum mortis. The second corrects, softer, sodden with vault damp. The kiss of death. They circle you like moths. The kiss is a sacrament, sealing concord. The kiss is contagion, transferring states, pax, pestis. You rub your forehead. Gentlemen, we're in the middle of something. The voices falter, scandalized by colloquial intrusion. Elora's eyes amuse. Let them finish. Courtesy. Very well. You say to the ceiling, definitions. Then, is this peace or plague? The bright voice clears its non-existent throat. Peace, if given freely. The damp voice concedes. Grudging plague, if stolen. Elora turns her face back to you. Nothing stolen. Then, nothing stolen. You echo and meet her again. This time you keep your eyes open. The cold is not an enemy. It is a boundary you agree to cross with care. The breath you share is not air, not even sound, but a permission. You feel something old shiver loose at the base of your skull, like a knot giving way. Images rise and recede, a lane of wet cobbles, a white shoe left in mud, a ribbon around a wrist ringing without moving, a priest weeping into stone. Her hands ghost your jaw. Your pulse thrums against your tongue. A bell you cannot see rings once from inside your mouth, so soft you might call it imagination if the candles didn't bow. Then, a true horror event. Clean and simple, the altar exhales, and you hear scraping from within the walls. Not claws, not rats, nails, many, slow. A choir of coffins answering your kiss with patient, remembered effort. You want to jerk away? You do not. You swallow the flinch and hold her colder still, and the nails quiet, as if reassured. Stay, she breathes. One more breath. You hold. The ring cools to snow. Your breath returns with a faint ribbon of steam that twines from your lips to hers and back again. A visible tether there, and not there exactly like the silk you once glimpsed in your flat's lamplight. The tether brightens, thins, snaps without sound. The candles straighten. The room unknots. She steps back, you sway, the floor steadies you with a small, kind shudder. That is all, she says. The ache is closed. You wipe your eyes and try for levity because levity keeps the living upright. So, how do I rate? On a scale of 1 to necromancy. Her smile lands like summer in a church. You are sufficient. Sufficient. You feign outrage. I nearly froze my soul. Then I am sufficiently grateful. Something brightens high in the stone, a seam of pale gold, thin as a hair, sliding along the arch like dawn testing a window. She looks up. You look with her. The seam opens into a line of light and then thins again, as if the world were resetting its eyelid. She lifts her hand, palm out. The way one says farewell to a train you will not chase. Remember, if the bells argue, listen to the air between them. That is where mercy speaks. And if something knocks, ask who it is. And if it won't answer, she tips her head. Then ask if you dare to go further. You breathe a quiet laugh. You know I will. I chose you for that, she says. And the old sadness is gone from her mouth. A final strange detail, frost flowers. Climb the altar's face in a rush, scribbling fern and star and feather, then melt from the top down, leaving the stone warm to your palm. The pattern it leaves resembles 2 interlocked rings, but if you blink, they are bells. And if you blink again, they are a pair of lungs at rest. You take a step backward toward the stairs. She doesn't move to follow. That is the courtesy. 2. Good night. Alora, you say, good night, keeper. You climb. At the lip of the trapdoor, you look back. She's half light now, half room, and wholly at peace. A single petal impossible. Crimson falls from nowhere to the center of the altar and does not bruise. Up in the chapel, the boards answer your tread with contented, sleepy creaks. The air tastes like rain taught how to be quiet. Outside, a bell rings once, not a warning, not a summons, a punctuation. Then stillness. You stand on the threshold, the city breathing slow, and let your hand rest on the old wood of the door. Do you hear it? You ask the night, half joking, half prayer. The night answers with a soft, amused hush, as if London itself has finally learned to smile without breaking its face. You close the door. The ache behind it stays closed. You walk away, carrying nothing that will break in the dark. The night air greets you like an old friend. Rain has begun to fall, the light kind that barely wets your coat, but makes the city shine as if polished by unseen hands. The bells have gone still again. Their silence patient, deliberate. London hums below the clouds, half asleep, half awake. You walk without thinking, guided by the rhythm that still lingers in your blood. Your footsteps echo across the slick pavement, each one perfectly spaced, matching the quiet pulse of the ring on your finger. The city feels different now, alive, but not restless, watchful. You catch small details you never noticed before, the way water beads perfectly along the stone lions of Westminster, the faint shimmer along the rooftops, the smell of roses clinging even to the gutters. Every sound feels like part of something larger, an orchestra without conductor, finding its own harmony. You whispered, it's breathing again. A figure steps from the shadows of an alley, a woman in an old-fashioned coat. Face hidden by the brim of a hat, you stop, hand instinctively on your chest. She doesn't move closer. Her voice floats softly through the rain. Keeper, You know the voice. It isn't Alora, it's another... one of the others you felt beneath the city. You whisper, "Are you one of them?" She nods once. The silence holds. The balance keeps. But there's something you must understand. "What?" She tilts her head slightly, and the rain around her seems to slow. The vow never dies. It changes shape. You step close. "What does that mean?" Her voice lowers, calm but heavy. Every age buries its truth. Every city makes its own silence. When this one grows loud again, the vow will wake and the world will need another keeper. You shake your head. "No, not again. It's done." She looks up. For a moment you see Alora's eyes in hers, soft, gray, infinite. "Done," she whispers. "Only pauses are done." You take another step toward her, but she's already fading into the mist. The rain passes through her like smoke. Her final words drift on the wind. Keep listening. You stand there for a long while, watching the rain blur the city into watercolor. The streets gleam like veins, carrying light instead of blood. You can almost hear the heartbeat beneath the cobblestones again, faint, patient, eternal. You walk on through alleys and under arches until you reach the river. The Thames lies still, a dark mirror. You lean against the rail and stare into the water. In the reflection, the city stretches upside down, towers reaching into black glass, bridges bending like the ribs of a sleeping giant. And then, for a moment, you see her, Alora, standing in the reflection behind you, veil fluttering just slightly in an invisible wind. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. You whisper, "And I'm still listening." Her reflection nods once, then the water ripples, and she's gone. You look up. The bells above the city stand silent, but somehow the quiet feels like applause. You turn away from the river, walking toward the dim orange glow of the street lamps. Each step feels lighter than the one before. For the first time in longer than you can remember, you realize you're not afraid of the silence anymore. It follows you home like a companion, gentle, breathing in rhythm with yours. And somewhere far beneath the city, the chapel rests. The roses bloom again, unseen in the dark. The last petal falls, not as an ending, but as an exhale. The world hums once more, low and content. The vow sleeps, the keeper walks, and the silence listens. The morning after feels unreal. You wake to the sound of rain against your window. Soft and steady, the kind of rain that hides the city's noise and replaces it with its own gentle rhythm. For a few seconds, you think you're still dreaming. Then you feel the weight of the ring on your hand, cool and silent. And you remember. You sit up slowly. The air inside your flat feels lighter, cleaner. The faint smell of roses lingers, not overpowering, just enough to remind you that she was real. The bell still rests on your table. It hasn't moved, hasn't changed color. But when you touch it, a warmth runs through your fingers, pulsing once in quiet acknowledgement. You whisper, "Good morning." No answer, yet you feel something stir, not in the air, but in your chest, a presence, faint and comforting. You don't need to hear her voice anymore to know she's near. The city outside hums with ordinary life again. A bus rumbles past, a door slams somewhere below. A woman laughs, distant, real, human. All of it sounds strange now, richer somehow, as if every noise carries a hidden harmony. You pour yourself tea, The kettle whistles on its own again, though this time you just smile. I guess some habits die harder than ghosts. Steam curls into the air like breath. You close your eyes and listen, not for voices, not for bells, just for the soft interval between sounds. It feels full, alive, sacred. You whisper, I can hear it. The walls seem to breathe in response. The rhythm that once terrified you now feels familiar, like the pulse of a sleeping friend. On the table lies a folded scrap of paper you don't remember leaving there. The edges are dry, but the ink looks fresh. You unfold it. In faint, elegant handwriting, it reads, "Every silence waits to be understood." Below it, a single initial E. You smile, still writing notes. You tuck the paper into your coat pocket, finish your tea, and step outside. The street greets you with puddles reflecting pale daylight. You walk without hurry, letting the city unfold in its quiet beauty. The bells remain silent, but you sense them watching, not waiting to toll, but listening to the living. You cross the bridge again. The river moves gently beneath, carrying the reflection of the sky. For the first time, it doesn't look dark or menacing. It just looks deep. You pause midway, resting your hands on the cold stone railing. You look down at your reflection and see two figures, you and, just faintly beside you, a woman in white. She smiles, serene, wordless. You whisper, "Are you still there?" Her reflection nods. You ask softly, "Is it over?" The wind carries her voice back, almost lost in the rain. "No. But for now, it's quiet." You nod. That's enough. You stay there for a while, watching the water move. The world feels balanced again, not free of ghosts, but peaceful with them. You think of the vow, the brides, the bells, and of all the sounds that hide inside silence. And somewhere deep below the city, you imagine a soft chorus of voices breathing with you, not haunting, not begging, just being. You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and listen one last time. No fear, no curse, just the sound of rain and the faint pulse of a world at peace. You whisper, almost like a prayer, "Good night, Elora." A faint, faraway chime answers one soft bell, clear and eternal. You smile, slip your hands into your coat pockets, and walk away as the fog begins to lift. The world exhales with you. Now the story slows. The air grows calm again. Each drop of rain feels softer, stretching the distance between moments. You walk until the city fades into a blur of gray and silver, until even your footsteps sound like echoes from another life. The quiet you carry isn't heavy anymore. It moves with you steady, kind, like a sleeping heartbeat under your ribs. Every now and then, when the wind brushes against your face or a distant bell sighs through the fog, you feel her there. And that's enough. Because not all stories end with endings. Some dissolve into silence, so gentle it feels like peace. You stop beneath a street lamp, its glow warm against the wet stones, and let your eyes close. The world hums faintly, not to haunt you, not to claim you, but to remind you that you are part of it now. You smile. For the first time, the silence smiles back.